Okay, recording in progress, like always. Yes. Laatste divis domingue, mi ho froh domingue John Misto, mi homo Sin2fighter und go divis himan I gast, Romnichal Gal von die USA, also für United States, und go divis Jal in Miro Podcast, bral Romnichals, die in die US Army waren im Zweiten Krieg. Und darüber sprechen wir heute. I just explained to the audience that we make today a live with
Mhm.
Alexa Stanley here today, also known as Romnichal Gal. And maybe you can introduce yourself and go, please.
Well, Kushta Divis. My name's Alexis Stanley, and I started a TikTok, Romnichal Gal, to kind of show some representation of the Romnichal group here in America. Um, Started out in about the 1500s. Romnichal arrived in England, and then in the late 1800s, that's where my ancestors came over to America. And we've been here in America ever since. We have American accents. Um, and I recently shared a post as a request from Giuliano to share my great-grandfather and his brother's experience in World War II. So I think a lot of Romnichels sympathize with the Holocaust, but I feel like they should really share that they were actually fighting, a good amount were fighting in World War II in the British and American Army.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because a lot of people maybe don't got this in focus. Yeah, because that's why a lot of German people to us say, "You're Sintis, you're not real Germans." Like I always say in my lives on TikTok or on Instagrams or in my podcast, that we Sintis who lived here in this country, what we call now Germany, over 600 years. There were no Germany when we arrived here in this continent. There were different kingdoms. That's correct.
Yeah.
The first starting here was 1407 in the German Hildesheim city. There was the first people arriving, the Sintis, and today I'm first of all glad that you had the time to make it for
Of
this
course.
Zoom podcast meeting here, because it's very interesting that also Sintis and the Romnichals, maybe in the UK and in the United States, who were drafted in the U.S. Army in the Second World War. So maybe you can go on in that point and explain a little bit, or show maybe a picture or something like this,
Yeah.
and then I will continue in that. Yes.
Yeah. So, you were mentioning earlier to me World War One, and I actually don't have any evidence or stories of any of my ancestors being drafted in World War One, but back then they were traveling in tents and caravans, and then they would travel. They'd mostly be here in Boston, the city Boston, in and out of the city and in New England area, traveling up and down, sometimes traveling south during the winter for more work. But it wasn't until maybe like the 30s or 40s where they started, some of my ancestors started to winter in apartments. And then, of course, I do have an ancestor that built an apartment complex to rent out to people in Boston, but he died before World War One. So I think that's how he missed being drafted. And then the ownership went into his wife. So basically what I'm trying to say is a lot of people didn't get drafted if they were traveling and they didn't have an address to find them. But my great grandfather and his brothers liked to winter in apartments, and so they would bring their mother, my grandmother Patience, great grandmother Patience, into these apartments, and she never. There are stories where she was kind of uneasy about it because she always lived outside and she never really stayed in an apartment. So that's kind of how they got drafted. And I don't think they went kicking and screaming. I've always heard that they were proud to serve, and they got drafted, they got the letter, and I have some paperwork to share actually. So let me try to share my screen. So this is the Cooper side of my family. So you're gonna see Coopers. Let me see if I can. Here it is. This one. This is my great
Wow.
grandfather, Richard Cooper, in
Mhm.
his uniform. And
Cool.
he's standing with my cousin Tom.
Uh-huh.
My cousin Tom died just 6 months ago.
Uh, Sorry for
Yeah,
that, Alexis.
yes. So I was gonna try to get Tom more. more stories out of Tom. But let me see if I can share more. Can you let me share the paperwork too? And
Yes,
it says his
please.
name. And it shares too where he was born, and he was born in an area. Richard Cooper was born in Rosendale, and a lot of Romnichal in
Mhm,
Boston
mhm.
were born in Rosendale because that's where we had our camps. So hold on. Let me try to share that paperwork that says Rosendale. Clicking on it, but it won't pop up.
No, something happened. Yeah.
It's the same one.
Okay. So
I
it's
don't
not a
know.
problem actually, but it's so interesting that also Romnichal people uh, were drafted in the U.S. Army, and like I said before, Alexis, the thing
Mhm.
is actually that also we talk. Let me stop this. Uh, not sharing. Okay. 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 Good. The things actually, like I said before, that a lot of people don't got in their mind that also Romnichal people were drafted in the World War II for was fighting against the Nazi Germany,
Yeah.
and they also maybe did not know, like you said before, that also Sintis and Romas were living here, and
Yes.
whereas where they maybe escaping their concentration camps. Yeah,
Yeah. So I asked my grandmother that because I never met my great grandfather. He died before I was born. And I asked my grandmother, and she said, no, he never talked about that. He never said that he saw anybody or heard anything or that he knew that he was fighting for that. And
yeah,
I found that hard to believe. A lot of things sometimes my grandmother will tell me, and we talked about how we use our grandparents as books. Like
yeah,
they're the books.
yeah,
That's what we learn
yeah,
from.
yeah, yeah.
Some things she says to me, I'm like, no way. And then later on, I find out that she was right. So
Uh-huh.
later on, I learned that it took 30 years for the governments to recognize that gypsies were in the Holocaust. So that's why he never knew. Yeah, so he never knew that, and it was him, his brother Nelson, and his brother James
Mhm.
that went to World War II, and his
Wow,
brother James was in the front lines and he died.
wow.
But yeah. Yeah, so they never knew that until later. And I was telling my grandmother that the other day that I've been sharing with Cinti how her father was in World War II and that, it took him 30 years. And she's like, why did it take him 30 years? I'm like,
Yeah,
they
that's
had to
maybe
fight
that's
to be recognized.
yeah, Alexis, that's maybe the information what the government told you. Yeah, in the United States, the thing is actually here in Germany, a lot of people don't got this in common. In the First World War, also German Sintis who lived here in Germany were also drafted in the World War One, and in the Second World War. Also, the funny thing is, my great grandfather he was also in the German army, and I'm gonna tell a real quick story. The funny thing is
Yeah.
that he went to the office to his sergeant and he said, "Hey, Franz, if you go tomorrow back home and you are there with the kids, the Gestapo will come and take you." So he warned him. So then he took the kids and escaped from Germany. Yeah.
Wow.
My great grandmother, she went 2 days before because he didn't know where she was. He thought she was by her cousin. She was already transported to Ravensbrück in the concentration camp. So he
Wow.
was really escaping for the Nazi regime here in Germany with three small kids. My grandfather, my grand aunties, and they lived by farmers, and the farmers um, stuck them and put them away in the farms for the Nazis. So we talk about 2, 3, 4 years in the area what we call now Schlesien, but it's now Poland. So
Yeah.
in this area, he was escaping from the Nazi regime. And yes, there were
Wow.
also Sintis in the German army until they find out they were Sintis. So it was not the Aryan look for them, how the Germans
Yep.
should look, but if you see the high rank NS Nazi regime people, they were not blonde and blue eyes. They were all brown, and you can see that. So
Mhm.
when they found out, they were also, I just say, they took the Sintis also maybe in the front of Russia, yeah, which as only for food, yeah. Let's say that they uh, if they die, they're gonna die, yeah. So they don't care really. about this. This is what I
Oh,
meant.
I see. I see.
And the problem actually is a lot of Sintis was in the Navy and they was on the special forces until they found out there were Sintis. Then they took to worker camps, and from the worker camps they building, and then they had some concentration camps because this was not only concentration camps in Poland and Auschwitz. It was here in Germany, Dachau, Ravensbrück, Buchenwald.
Mhm.
There were a lot of concentration camps, and that's why our history here in Germany, like I always tell you, we got now a very good organization. It took them, after the World War II was finished, 1945, it took them 37 years. Here in Germany, the Sintis was fighting. Um, in that Sinti move, I said, yeah, against the
Yeah.
German government and to try to get money back and claiming this, everything. It took them 37 years. And
Mm.
1982, they found an agreement with Romani Rose and the German president at the time, Helmut Schmidt, that also Sinti and Romas were died in the Holocaust. 37 years after the Second World War, nothing against Jewish people, but after the Second World War, 1 year later, the Jewish
Right.
claimed it, and it was already the Holocaust was killed by Jews. But there were also Sinti and Romas, and
Hmm.
they forgot us. So it's so very interesting that also Romnichals fighting on the right side against the
Yeah.
enemy, but also the enemy had Sintis in their
Yeah.
soldiers until they found out they were Sintis, and then they were thrown out to the concentration camps and everything. Yeah, it's so interesting.
Yes, it is. I don't think a lot of people talk about our Western history and
No,
what it's like on our perspective, what we're doing over here, and
yeah.
yeah.
So
Um,
Alexis, so it's very interesting that we keep on doing this, yeah,
right.
because I never heard. I mean, it's interesting for me as a Sinto to always know Romnichals, okay, United States. But when I heard, oh, her great uncle was in the army in the Second World War, hello, I need more infos about this
Yeah.
because it's
Yes.
very interesting.
Yeah. I was trying to get when I asked my grandmother questions to tell stories, and sometimes my aunts know a little more. It takes a little bit. Like I
Uh,
gotta ask her a couple of times for more and more details. But recently she was telling me how my great grandfather didn't like to talk about the war because it kind of
well,
upset
that's
him.
normal, Alexis. That's normal.
Yeah. But he did note that the Germans always had like very pristine, just like in the movies, pristine uniforms,
Oh yeah,
pristine equipment. Yeah.
attitudes. Their attitude was
Yes.
Hua. So it was like a
Yes.
respectful. I don't know how you can explain it at that time. There
Intent.
was explaining and dedicated to their uniforms where you say,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is a whole new world. What is this? Yeah.
I'll have to share too because then also my experience growing up in high school,
Uh-huh.
because I went to public high school,
Uh-huh.
and we a lot in our English classes we read books of Jews in the Holocaust. And obviously I didn't tell anybody that I'm Romnichal and I
You
know
say
that my
nothing. You say
yeah, I
nothing.
say nothing. But there was only one occasion where, and we read so many books, and never once mentioned Cynthia
Cynthia
Roma.
Roma. Never.
Right. There was one occasion I had an English teacher who brought up an article of this woman who was a Jewish woman who could paint. And I think you've heard of this story.
Yep.
And the Nazis had her paint studies of Sinti and Roma. And in the article, she wanted those paintings back. So we had a debate in class. Should she have the paintings back or should they stay in the museum? And I was the only one that raised my hand and said, no, they should stay in the museum. And the teacher asked why. And I said, because there's nothing on Sinti and Roma in the Holocaust in museums. This is it. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't just give it to that woman because she feels sentimental, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was the only
True.
one. Everyone else was like,
What she's talking, what she
yeah,
wants.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I heard in Washington, and I guess somewhere in Atlanta, because I want to go there one day. It's the Holocaust Memorial Museum. I want to
Hmm.
go there. It's Washington,
Yeah.
and I want to see. Because the funny thing is, I shared it on my homepage a long time ago. The homepage of the Holocaust Museum, and they got a lot of Sinti pictures and
Okay.
articles about it on
Okay.
on the homepage. There were videos and pictures where you never where I never found.
Right.
So Is you can Google it on the Holocaust Memorial
Yeah.
homepage, and there is a searching link, and you put in Sintis, and then there come movies and pictures, and say, wow.
Wow.
So that's why I wanted to go there, because here in
Mm.
Germany we got something similar. We call it the Archiv. Archiv was created by the United States, the British, the France. That
Okay.
this story is keeping for pictures, names, and everything. You can go in there. You looking for your grandmother, the name suck, you see
Oh.
what she did in the concentration camp, what kind of number she got. I got books of it where I can see all um, the people in there.
Wow. Okay. I'll
Yeah.
have to keep that in mind because my mom said she wants to go next summer to Washington, D.C. I'd like to
So,
go and poke around.
so if you go, and maybe I can plan something where we can meet maybe in Washington, because I want
Yeah.
to go there, and maybe we can make there a life together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because,
That would be cool.
yeah, I want to go to the Holocaust Memorial in Washington, because they got a lot of things in there, and I want to see
Hmm.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. See if the plaques are correct too. There's a my aunt Phoebe Stanley's wagon is in, I think I mentioned to you, in a museum in New York.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I want to go there and I want to read the plaque and make sure it says the right stuff. My cousins don't care. They'll visit it. They think it's cool, but I gotta make sure it says the right stuff on there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But like I said, the Holocaust Memorial link homepage, you can check it out. Um,
Yeah.
and you can search for a lot of pictures and videos, what I
Hmm.
never found. But if you want those pictures or you requested them, you need to write them an email that you get the permission to get those pictures. And this is correct. That's
Wow.
good how they did it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you can imagine a lot of US soldiers who made it out the concentration camps, and they saw their Sintis and Romas who took the pictures of the people. They got this in this museum.
Mm. Hmm.
And this is
Okay.
and this is
Wow.
interesting. So nobody can say this happened.
It wasn't, yeah.
It wasn't. And the funny thing is, when the World War was finished, the United States, the British, and the French, but especially I know from the Americans, when there was a town nearby a concentration camp, and they went to this village and took the mayor who was responsible for this village and took all the people to this concentration camp as a visiting, maybe 1 week later, that they see how the people was treated, how that is, so that nobody can say we didn't know about it, and this is
Right.
the story, blah blah blah. Yeah, these
Hmm.
are facts.
Right.
So, and that's why the German history in Germany with the Sintis took almost 37 years. They were still fighting for their rights, and
Hmm.
that's so crazy, because some let's say some Nazis who wasn't a police, maybe a police president or a mayor, uh, after the Second World War, they was back in their positions, and that was making it so hard for the Sintis to
Yeah.
fight against their rights.
Right.
Lawyers, doctors,
Right.
they was in their position.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, this is a whole nother side of history we never hear about. And we spend so much time in high school talking about World War
I
World
know, and
War.
the same thing here. We talk about the French Revolution. We talk about Napoleon, and sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good, yeah. And every time when I say, "Oh, we got now the German," when the kids go to school, 8th, 10th grade, they talk maybe about the Second World War. Then you hear
Hmm.
6 million Jewish was maybe dying, but nobody likes to talk about the Sinti and Romas. They say
Mm.
maybe, oh yeah, and they were Sinti and Romas. Stop. A lot of people don't know Sinti and Romas were killed. Jewish people, also German people, German Catholic priests were killed who
Hmm.
helped the Sinti and Romas. German people were also in a concentration camp, were maybe on a different party,
Right.
Democratic Party,
Yes.
different
Yep.
party also, and people who had handicaps also.
Yes.
And this is what the people don't know. This is what the world should put in their history books
Right. Right.
also, so that everybody
Yes.
knows.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was so
It's
interesting, and it's for me interesting also every time when I talk with you and hear about the Romnichals in the United States. And it's an interesting story that Romnichals also, not everybody, some of them were drafted. Not all Sintis were drafted in the German army, because, like you said, we was traveling. Some of them had
mhm.
no home address. They were somewhere in the
Right.
woods with their horses, blah blah blah.
Right.
And
Exactly.
But the problem was there, those people was the first one who went to the concentration camp because the Gestapo saw them, took them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Wow.
the Catholic Church here in Germany, I need to say it, was not the best friend of the Sintis because the Sintis are very got a very Holy Spirit. Yeah, we believe in God. We very trusting in God. And when the priests in some villages had the whole family names, the address, everything, and they gave it to the Gestapo.
Wow.
So the German Catholic Church, and that's why the Pope in the Vatican City is now doing some forgivings and
Yeah,
forgiving. Yeah,
I keep seeing
yeah,
videos of
yeah.
Roma Sinti with the flag,
Yes, and it was by the
playing
Pope,
guitar to
like
him and
in front of
meeting.
the Pope. Yeah,
Yeah.
because their history they want to put again because the it was a deal about the Catholic Church in Germany and the Nazi regime.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
it are very sad things. And so, like I said, I was asking the question myself, why did some Sinti stay in this country after the Second World War? Why didn't they went to the States? To some of them went to Holland, some of them went to France, some of them went to Austria, but some of them stuck here because they, same like Romnichals. When there's your circle, this is your circle, and you keep
Yeah.
on with it. But some of
Yep.
them, but some Sintis I know they went to the States. Some of them.
Yeah.
Some were in Texas, and you remember Bobby? You know Bobby.
Yes.
And I was
Yes.
talking with him, and he told me his mommy is a French manouche, and I said, "Man,
Yes.
yeah."
Yep.
And
Yep.
there
They
was
have
such
a little. It was either his mom's side or his dad's side.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't
Yep.
know. He
And
told me.
his last name Young is a Romnichal last name that Romnichal recognize.
Okay.
Yep. There's a couple of good last names. I think he has Joel's in him. That's another Romnichal last name. Cooper
Yeah.
Stanley, all that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, but this is like when the people see us, especially in Germany. I mean, we have a lot of organization here who fight against our rights, what is good. Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
but some of them don't really know of the German people, their history, the German history, that also Sinti was fighting for this country,
Mm.
even if they killed them in some certain ways. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the truth. And
Yep.
if and the thing is that the I call it the right wing parties growing now up again in the world. Yeah, a lot of
Oh,
people
yes.
thinking different about people with colors, brown, Sinti,
Hmm.
Roma. They don't like some of them. They don't like us until today. Also here in the United States, in Germany, the same thing, Alexis. And we
Yeah.
need to fight against this.
Right. Right. And another thing too is when we were talking about in the live one time discrimination, how in America you can just pretend what your nationality is, or no one really asks because there's so many different types of people here. You'll still get. I had a cousin a month ago be called racial slurs at a restaurant,
Wow.
not gypsy, but like racial slurs directed towards like Latino or Mexican. So it's
It
funny
is a
'cause
no
he's
go.
being called names for another group.
But he is not.
Yes.
So it depends in which certain area you are in the
Yeah.
United States. Maybe
Yes.
good, and in certain areas, it's maybe for some groups a no go. Let's
Right.
be honest. It is like it
Yeah.
is because if you say, "Hey, I'm American," I say, "Yeah, right," and I'm the Pope from Vatican. I say, "Yeah, I'm American. I live I'm not Latino. I'm Romnichal." What is Romnichal?
Right.
You Latin, you Italian, you
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You Spanish, you
Yeah.
Hispanic.
And that's what's so annoying too is because even when I'm trying to be quiet and discreet, sometimes people will still ask, "What are you exactly?" I'll just be like,
I'm
"Oh."
a Boston girl, you know. No, come on, tell me really where you from. I'm from Boston. No, tell me really where you from. I'm a Romney child. What is Romney child? Then you say, you know, the women who read from your hand. Woo, you know, I am this.
Yep. Yep. Um, yeah, but it's really good to learn about this history. I mean, this is more than what
What
my
we
siblings
learn,
learned
what
in
we
high school.
learned both in school, even when I was in high school, you don't learn about this. You
Right.
heard, you hear maybe, okay, here in Germany, they pronounce it, okay, the Second World War, 6 million Jewish, Sinti and Roma, even a half million. You hear this, but when a kid asking, sorry, ma'am, could you tell me the difference between Sinti and Roma? It's a no go.
Yeah.
Then they stop. Oh, My education plan, I didn't learn it. Sorry, read the book.
Yeah, and that's what's funny too, is that they don't even recognize the people that have been with them for hundreds of years.
Now
The people that have been
imagine,
around them for hundreds of years.
and this is what I say. It's like living for those people living like in a matrix. You live in
Yeah,
this country and you live next to them. They may be your best friend and they don't know who you are.
yeah,
In that point, in that moment, when you say, I'm a Sinti Roma, oh God, you're gone. You're gone. Or the
yeah.
gypsy word, the G word,
Yeah.
yeah, or the Z word. If you say that, it's a no-go.
When I was in college, I worked in a lab that I really loved working in this lab.
Mhm.
It was for it was research lab and I got to write like my thesis on it. And sometimes my professor would ask, does anybody have like anything about them that could help get our research group a scholarship? And I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying what
I'm
I
not
am,
saying it.
saying what first generation anything. Because the moment I don't, those are my friends. They're great. I love them. But when I tell them that, if something's missing in the lab, are they going to think about me? You have to think about things like that,
Yeah.
you know?
And, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we got here in Germany. I was posting it, the Mia with the three words, MIAA, anti-racist. If you got a case like this, you can get in contact to them, you write them an email. You can do it without saying your name, only the email,
Oh,
the city where it happened, and in which area. Like you said, your cousin in the restaurant or in the
yeah.
school, or you got a police profiling. There you can count this. So that's why this is
Wow.
now until 2, 3 years old here in Germany, that they got a statistic where they can see and analyze how many anti-gypsies cases are here. And let me tell you, it went higher in 2 years until 40% up.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is really wow. Yeah,
Mm.
that's why in one case it's good to have an organization like this. That if
Yeah.
you get anti-gypsiness um, in a restaurant, you got a profile, a police profiling, or in school. Yeah, what you guess here? I know you're in the States, but where you guess where the most anti-gypsiness racism will be? Police, apartments, searching, or in the school? What do you think?
I would say police.
Number two, first place, school, because the education of the teachers.
Yeah.
If they get a case like this and the kids call under the groups gypsy, they don't know how to handle it. They don't
Mm.
got no special teachers. Second point, it was correct, police. And the third part is for people who are looking for houses, Alexis,
Yeah.
apartments.
Oh, yeah.
This is the issue. And if they say they were Sinti,
Okay.
the funny thing is, you got people like me, and I got a last name. Maybe you call yourself Brown or Smith. But if we call it and they expecting a different person, how the looking is, you won't get the apartment. And this is a part of racism
Yeah.
from the
Yeah.
landlord. Yeah. But to
Mhm.
prove it, that's why, yes, a lot of Sintis got their own houses, don't to handle it. But you got some Sintis who live in apartments, and these are the most anti-gypsiness, racist here in
Yeah.
Germany.
Yeah. I
School,
think,
education, looking for houses, and police are profiling. Yeah.
yeah. I think there's been only a few occasions where someone will have a story about being in a town for a while when they were
Mhm.
traveling and the people in the area found out and then maybe the people in the rest they told the people in the restaurant like stuff like that. But America's so big where I don't think I've ever come across where everybody in the town knew what you were.
That's why America is so big. That's
Yeah.
good. You get big
Yeah.
states. You could go somewhere
Yeah.
in Texas. You go in the desert, nobody know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but that's
that's
really interesting. And
yeah,
that organization's really cool that you can anonymously report.
yeah, and that's
Those
why
are
you saw the flyers in the on. If you got time, check my TikTok. I post it sometimes in different languages. It's in German, English,
Yeah.
and also in Romanes, and also in some Russia or some other Slavic
Okay.
languages. So the people can go on their homepage. You also can
Yeah.
check it out if you want in Google. Just type in Mia,
Okay.
and then you will come on the German homepage, and then you also can put this in English, and then you
Yep.
can read that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. Wow,
yeah,
that's great.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Different things, different stories. So, do you still got something to say?
Well, actually earlier I was going to talk about, you know how I said that my grandmother, sometimes she'll tell me things and, I have to trust everything she says because that's where I get all my information about our history and everything. But there was two things that I didn't believe her. One was the thing about my great grandfather in the war not knowing about other Romani and Sinti. But now she was right. He didn't know because it took that long. It was all under wraps. And then the second thing I didn't believe her about when I was growing up is she would make these breads, puddings, and pies and call it Rumney food. And I said, no way. This is like English food. And then I got talking to a smith from the UK
Huh?
and Pride of the Romany, and they confirmed that.
And you said, yeah, we do the same thing.
Yeah, my cousin's down south. And I said, oh my God, this is really Rumney food because we've been here for 500 years. So we adopted that food.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's true.
And I just didn't believe her for so long. And I was like, wow. I know you and I talked about like what food we have at all our functions. And I said Italian because there's so many Italians up here in the north, in New York and in Boston.
Yeah, New Jersey. Hey, New Jersey, Jersey town.
Yeah. Yes. Jersey. Yep.
But let me
Exactly.
tell you, we got a lot of Italian restaurants here too. A lot of Italians living here in this area in Germany. You gotta say, good
Yeah.
restaurants, good Italian food. But
Yeah.
typical German, like the German Sinti food for typical is always we love meat, we love
Hmm.
mashed potatoes, brown sauce, and stuffing from the back oven. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
stuff they eat, and they got lode shach or lode shach. This is like cabbage, the big ones,
Hmm.
the big ones, the white cabbage, and they cut it and then they cook it and then they put meat on it and then they got some things what you don't got. We call it klöße. If you will know what this is, it looks like a potato ball. Yeah, it's
Okay.
like a potato ball. They eat it with red cabbage and then meat. Also
Okay.
very good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also very typical food, but also similar German food. Those people lived here over 600 years. Of course, they take their food and mix it with their food. And the same
Hmm.
thing is like the Romnichals, where they live in this area in the States. Same things.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
But
Exactly.
the Romnichal cake, like you said, we got this too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good.
With the pudding and maybe with the jelly, jam. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Yes. And my cousins too think it's the best thing in the world to have like a English scone or biscuit with
Oh,
English tea.
yeah.
Got that from England.
Yeah. You guys got it from the British people. Yeah, we love
Yep.
coffee. I'm a coffee drinker. I come from a
Oh yeah, me too.
coffee family. Yeah, okay, 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 good, good, good.
Yep.
Yeah, so very interesting, Alexis. So I would go to the end now with this
Yeah, of
podcast.
course.
And what's very interesting about this podcast this time, where Romnichals joined the U.S. Army, and a lot of people don't have focus that also Sintis were in the German Army, but until they found out
Mm.
they were Sintis. Yeah, it is like this. And
Yep.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much for your time. This was really
no
cool.
problem. Thank you for your time, and I hope we keep on doing this. Yeah,
Oh
because
yeah.
it's very
If I get
interesting.
any more cool stories and get the pictures I want, I'll send them
I
right
will
over.
find out for my pictures, and I'm gonna check if I can find if they had some pictures of it. I will show you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.